was a little sweeter.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm here with Evan Rachels from Glasscock County. Most people don't know where that's at, the old dirt farming town over there. And I know you grew up doing a lot of farming and everything. And, you know, I've come to know you pretty good and just knew you when you was younger. And I was a little older just because of some of the family, you know, I had family down there too, and that, you know, from that area. But I know you love to bow fish, and that's what we fix to talk about is bow fishing and alligator hunting, man.
Man, well, first off, I'm glad that you reached out and invited me here. I'm more than happy to talk with you about any type of gator hunting and bow fishing. Just real honored to be here.
Well, I appreciate it. So tell me a little bit, for being down there, I know it ain't besides farm ponds, a little bit old reclaimed chalk holes, but you do have the Ogeechee River. So tell me how you got into bow fishing.
Yeah, so the Ogeechee River in Glasscock and Washington County, it separates the counties. It's the lifeblood of the county for a lot of people like me. Grew up running that river with my dad, catching redbreast. That was a highlight of the year was when the redbreast would start running. They would always say when them dogwoods are blooming, we're taking off work, going getting after them redbreast. But really, that's some of the first places I ever bow fished too as well. Bow fishing was something that still to this day isn't as popular as most people would think it would be, but it has grown in the last 10 years being more popular than it ever has. But when I was a wee chap many, many moons ago, it's hard to think that how old I am now, but looking back on those times when I was younger, you know, I saw a magazine my dad had. I think it was one of the old GONs, and it had an article in it about bow fishing. Right. And I looked at the pictures, and it was a gentleman with an old long bow with a little reel on the front, just a spool line, not even a real reel.
It wasn't like the Zebco, it was just spool line.
No, it was just, you shoot it, and then you just wrap it back up on there.
Right.
And before all of that, me and my buddies got to where every summer during the dry season, just like it is now, that Ogeechee River would literally, where we live at, it would dry up to where you walk across it, your knees wouldn't get wet. Right. So we would always walk the banks and find a bend where some trees were down. You'd have a long, deep hole there. And we would generally fish there, and we would always see these just giant fish pop in the top of the water. And for somebody that grew up fishing for redbreast their whole life, when you see a fish that's over 2 foot long, you're like, I'm going to catch that.
Right.
And it turned out to be these gar that we had, and just these prehistoric just fish that just fascinating to look at. They are. And so then, you know, trying to fish for them and everything like that, we learned very, very many things about gar. You know, we would try to fish for gar with, you know, chicken liver or something like that, and they wouldn't touch it. You had to have the freshest bait possible. We'd catch a bluegill, a redbreast, cut it up, then throw it out there. Then they wanted it. And that elevated over time of, man, I saw an article with a guy with a bow. What if we just start shooting these things? That'd be pretty easy. And so we did. One of my good friends was the first one I actually even witnessed do it. And we shot a gar. It was like a 3-foot female gar from an elevated bank on the side of the river with a hunting bow. It was like a PSC deer hunter with an aluminum Easton arrow. No reel, no nothing, just shot the gar. And then you see a fish swimming around with its arrow in it, and you're like, well, now we got to try to get it. So, you know, it kind of elevated from that, and we got so into it, and it never really left us. After that, it was I want to learn more and more about this bow fishing, and a group of me and my buddies, that's just what we kept doing. And it's funny now to look at the level that I'm blessed to bow fish on, and that so many others are, but looking back at how organically it really started.
Right, you started just a kid with.
Right. One of the biggest things that's funny is when we roll up to the boat ramp now, you've witnessed it and several other people witness it with me, and especially some of my buddies that bow fish all the time. When we roll up, it's just, must be nice. Can't believe this. I'm like, y'all, it didn't start this way. I promise you. And hopefully through this podcast, everybody will realize that it did not start that way.
Right. So, when did you get so as far as y'all going and up and down the river by foot, when did you get your first boat that you rigged up to bow fish with?
So the first boat was a 10-foot John boat of my dad's that I absolutely got scolded for dragging around behind a four-wheeler without a trailer on it to get it to where we needed to be. Old riveted John boat, and just leaked like a sieve. And we actually started by handheld lights, and we had some bows rigged up. I'd figured out what we call an AMS jug. That technology has not changed since, I think that thing come out in the 70s or something. You've seen them. I still use them from time to time today. And, we got to where we were in the water now shooting these fish with handheld lights, or either going during the daytime. We'd wait till the sun got from 10 to 2, polarized sunglasses. We could do it during the daytime. And it all just kind of elevated. That 10-foot John boat, we would have a one person in the back with a trolling motor, and we would, bolt shop lights to it from Lowe's, have old generator in there running, and not these nice inverter generators.
You've had a piece of plywood on the front. Did you make a deck? I've seen them like that before.
And the only reason we made a deck is so you could actually get your feet out without tipping over.
Right.
And we used to use, that's another thing that's so fascinating about bow fishing is the technology. We used to use high pressure sodium lights. And you would hit a log in that John boat with these shop lights mounted to the boat, and when you would, all the bulbs would blow. They were so hot they would blow, and we would try to change them out as quick as we could. I swear I went 2 summers without having fingerprints from trying to change these bulbs out while they were hot, so we could get back to fishing. And that was really one of the first boats that I ended up bow fishing with. Now, as far as a first actual bow fishing boat that I was proud of, that you couldn't tell me anything about, was way later in life. It was probably 2014 or 15. I bought a Gator Trax from actually a gentleman here in Milledgeville. Put a raised deck on it that so many people are so conflicted about. Put a raised shooting deck on it, had some LED lights, and it was an outboard. It's what we call a troller rig. Right. And that was actually the first bow fishing boat. And that boat I actually sunk in the Atlantic Ocean off of Shellman's Bluff about 2 years later, trying to
still there? Sunk, or
no,
you was able to get it out?
The U.S. boats, which was my insurer at the time, they got it out about 3 that morning. They had to dive down and pump sand out of it and floated it out. The Coast Guard got me. It was a story in itself. Right. Long story short, this old boy was used to the Ogeechee and the Oconee River, and that Atlantic Ocean is a completely different animal. I didn't know what tides were. I thought I knew, but the one thing I did know was that there were flounder out there, and it was legal for me to go get them. So I was going to get it. So, I tried crossing the Sapelo Sound on the Atlantic Ocean during a very, very bad storm with 4 or 5 foot swells, and we're talking about a 20-inch side boat. It flooded it out, and I was lucky enough to make it to the bank. I ran and hit the bank as fast as I actually could, which wasn't fast because I was standing in water as it was from the waves coming over.
To get you out and off to safety.
Yeah, so I hit the bank and immediately started unloading my boat, and cardinal rule, I was by myself doing it. I had some friends that were down there at the time, and I did that. And instead of even calling the Coast Guard, I called my friends, hey, I need some help. And not really projecting how bad and serious the situation really was, kind of downplaying it. Looking back at it now, it was a very serious situation. Right. And but I made it through it. God's will, I made it through it. And that was, you talking about a lesson learned. That was a lesson learned. Ironically, that's been over 10 years ago, near about. And the first time I went back actually bow fishing on the Atlantic coast was 2025, this year. Since then, right, I was scared so bad of those tides. I'd go to the Gulf, man. Give me a foot or 2 foot tide.
Go back to the Atlantic Ocean. That Atlantic that about got you that one time.
It did. It was an absolute
And I'm gonna
monster.
back up a little bit because y'all need to know. I'm Evan. I'm sitting here talking to you. You got to think this kid come up down there on the Ogeechee River when he says he's bow fishing at night. Him and his buddies with a flashlight. You're talking in the swamps, man. You talking about beating off moccasins, you know what I mean? Just don't give a rip, you know what I mean?
Right.
And this same guy, we're going to get into some of this. I've watched video of him jumping off a boat trying to catch a 6-foot alligator without even a hook or nothing in him, you know? So we ain't talking about your normal character right here in the head. I will say, I ain't going to say he's Billy Badtail, but he just ain't right in the head.
That's right. That's right. I've been accused of way worse, but yeah, you're completely right. I realize something is off inside my head. And people,
so yeah, he figured he could cross the Atlantic Ocean in that little old boat, you know. That was a good story, lesson learned.
Yeah,
but
it was.
So the cool thing is, and yeah, you're right. When you pull up to the boat ramp now, man, everybody knows, and everybody sees on the side of your boat, which I think is such a cool logo and cool what you come up with Reaper Bow Fishing. And I just even seeing the fans on the back of your boat and all that. Your boat's awesome. I mean, I really love it. I love riding in it, and you put a lot of time, effort, work, and thought into your boat. So when did you actually go into getting an airboat? I know this isn't your first one, so.
Yeah. So, really, typically in the world of bow fishing, just a quick rundown for all your viewers and followers. Typically in the world of bow fishing, you've got a few different type of boat setups. You've got a troller rig, which is generally an outboard boat with a troller motor that you use to navigate while fishing. You have what we call a kicker rig. Typically, a 18 to 20 foot boat. It's got an outboard. It's got a small motor mounted on the side at the back, like a 9 or 15, that you steer from up front to navigate. You have what they call a pusher fan rig. I feel some kind of way about them, not a fan of them, but it's an outboard boat with a big globe fan with like a smaller Briggs & Stratton or Predator motor that blows that air propelled around. It's not enough to run dry necessarily with the boat, but that's your secondary propulsion while you're fishing, so you don't have a trolling motor in weeds or ground or anything like that.
Corey knew you had that type of boat.
Pusher fan.
Yeah, and that was probably one of the most heart-dropping moments I ever had. I had used his boat, been in it bow fishing a lot, and he told me to take it. We was going down to Anna Maria Island. He said, take it down there. You can use it in Tampa in the bay. And we was going to do the same thing, fish and flounder and all. And he had been going through propellers a few times, and I don't know if I did something wrong. I don't think I did, because he had said it happened to him, but that thing blew up. Or the propellers blew up on it, and I thought I was dead. You know what I mean? Stuff went flying everywhere, and
scary.
It was very
it's
scary.
Very scary. And those boats have their place. Every boat. One of the things that I brought most joy to me was going to these bigger tournaments, meeting people across the country, where now sometimes I can go to these tournaments and look at their boat, and I can generally tell you what part of the country they come from. Up north, we see a lot of these pusher fan rigs. A lot of them. They're really popular. And every boat has its place. Every boat has its specialty. I went to airboats in, I want to say 2017 or 18. I first went to airboats because, let's be honest, first tournament I went to and saw an airboat there, I was like, if I get that, I'll win tournaments, and that's not the case. Right. It's not the case. But for what all I enjoy doing in the rivers that I love running, which the rivers you're familiar with over this way, an airboat eliminates so many dangers and so many worries. A lot of people will look at them and automatically think, that's a dangerous boat, and really, it's loud and it's obnoxious. There's no way around that. You can't deny that. But as you've ridden with me and other people have before, if it's not more than about 6 inches out of that water, we're really not worried about it. We're going to stay on pad and keep going, and being able to navigate the places that I want to be able to fish and hunt the way that I want to. Those boats are what I need for me to do what I do. And I've been fortunate enough to own several different ones, and like even this last one I bought it used from a gentleman out in Texas, and it's a Phoenix, which is a real reputable name in airboats, and it's a very solid bow fishing boat. But even when I got it used from him, the way he used it was very different from the way I used it. Right. So I spent 4 months pretty much changing it around, getting it set up to how I wanted, the removable deck over. Gator hunting, I like a lot of force place, especially if we have people that aren't used to airboats. It eliminates the hazard of falling down. Right. And all that come from just years of learning what did and didn't work for me.
Right. So you went off and fished tournaments for a while, and you said that you seen the airboat and you thought if I could get that I could win tournaments. So what did that lead you to?
We won some tournaments. Not anytime soon after that. Right. So, I remember my first real bow fishing boat, like I was talking about, that Gator tracks with the elevated platform. We would go out here on the lake, and we'd spend half a night, and we'd get 10 fish, and you weren't telling us anything. We have 10 carp, a few gar. We're ready to go shoot some of these tournaments. And one of the first tournaments I went to, we showed up, signed up, shoot Big 20, and we we come back in for weigh in, and we didn't even have 20 fish. We had 18 fish, and man, it may have totaled up to 30 pounds for all those fish. Sitting in line for weigh in, we kept just seeing these mammoth fish that people were taking out and weighing, and I told my buddies, like, hey, let's pack it up. These people are watching us. They're gonna laugh at us, and it really opened my eyes to how many other people were bow fishing, and how many other people were in the sport of bow fishing, and it intrigued me. It kicked something in my head. How are they getting these fish? Where are they finding these fish? We weren't having them on the Ogeechee like this. Where do I go about doing this? And the next few years, we kept shooting tournaments and kept getting into it. The bunch that I had is a big local bunch from around here in Milledgeville, some of the greatest friends of my life. We were shooting these tournaments together, and to them, it was organically a friendship of good time, man. They did not care if we win, lost, if we even got a fish in the boat. They were just so high on us standing around and having that fellowship with one another. And boy, me, old Evan, I got to get a W. I won't just win. I'm earning, Right. So I got very serious about it, and I contacted a few other people in the bow fishing community, and a few other people contacted me, and a few of us kind of come together with the same mindset of, hey, we're willing to do what it takes to win some of these tournaments. And I saw some of the greats. I've been fortunate enough to witness some of the greatest bow fishers that I believe ever walked this earth, and there's a lot of them that are here local to Georgia. Just earlier when we was talking, and I was talking about Tommy Woods with TKO.
Right.
To me, he's I look up to him a lot with the way that he's done his bow fishing, and he's got a team that sticks together, tried and true, and them four fish together, and they don't fish with nobody else. And a lot of that goes into winning these bigger tournaments. You need to get a team that's very serious about what they do. You need to get a team that's very serious about spending money to win.
Is it 4 to a boat, or is that a 2-boat team?
So generally in today's world, with most of your bow fishing tournaments, like your big 20s, big 10s, you got a 4-man team is what allowed. And generally in the world of bow fishing tournaments, you have a numbers side and you have a big 20 side. Your big 20 side is your biggest 20 fish that you can bring in that you can legally harvest, and whatever that weight may be. And then you have the number side, which is pure any fish that's legal, bringing in, we're counting them. And you've kind of got two different bow fishing followings with that.
Right.
It's pretty funny.
So one boat's going out trying to, and that they have separate boats, right? The four of the two teams.
No, say me as Reaper bow fishing, say I'm going to enter a bow fishing tournament. The first thing me and my buddies have to agree on: are we going for numbers, or are we going for big 20?
Right.
Very rarely do you see somebody do both. It's completely different styles of fishing, completely different areas.
So all
of
four is going to decide what they're going to do.
And so when me and the last guys that I shot with, we were big 20 shooters. We like shooting big fish. And so we would all say, hey, this tournament's coming up, whether it be the U.S. Open, the Worlds, the Muzzy, anything like that. We're going to dedicate ourselves to going and shooting this big 20 tournament. So we would sign up, and you sign up and pay to be in the big 20 side of it. And then from then, the scouting starts. And that was something that I had to get very serious about, because up until I got with these other guys shooting these bow fishing tournaments and being serious about it, we didn't really scout. I didn't really realize that people were doing that. But the gentlemen that were winning were scouting. You definitely, it's just like in the world of the big bucks and stuff like that. Very rarely you're going to just go sit out there in the woods and that 160 come down through there. You got to put your work and your homework in. And that's really what it entails to, even to this day. I joke with people and they ask me, what's it take to win one of these big tournaments? I said, dedication and money. How much time can you take off of work? How much money can you spend in fuel and diesel? And are you willing to go a few nights without sleeping in your truck on the side of the interstate? And that's all things that we did, and we won some tournaments, and they're very fun. I would not take that for the world. That's a very great, blessed feeling to win those things. And everybody views it different ways. I know after a while, for me, I struggled with it.
It was a part of your life at the time. You would always go back to want to experience what you did.
That's right. That's right. I feel like chasing some of those bigger tournaments and chasing those titles and all that, which a lot of them I never got. Right. I've always wanted now, in a lot of the bigger tournaments, they give out belt buckles. They give out belt buckles, and I've always told myself, and a lot of my buddies, some of them have belt buckles.
You wish you'd got some belt buckles.
I wish I'd have got a buckle. I wish I'd have got a buckle, and it's not over for me yet. You never know. If it burns in me enough to try it, then I'd try it again. But it's such a fast-paced world. It's such an ever-evolving world with the species of fish that people are targeting, with how they're harvesting them, and I've been out of that world for so long. I'm pretty rusty when it comes to that. Right. After being fortunate enough to win a few tournaments, I really turned back to just going with my friends and really getting back to the basics of it.
Well, you told me about the last, and you ain't got to go total into detail, but you told me about the last tournament you won, and you said both, the four of y'all started in two different states and worked your way back to where you was going to finish in Alabama, because it was you could trailer your boat to the place and the scouting, and you just said the money you put in to it, that after you won it and looked at what you have spent and what you've done, it's like, what am I doing?
That math ain't mathing. Right. Math ain't mathing. It's pride. Anyone that you speak to or anyone that you ask that says that they go to bow fishing tournaments to win the money,
they ain't winning the money.
They're
winning money.
They're not being honest. Those guys and girls are not there to win that money. It is pride. It is 100% pride. I could name you probably right off the top of my head 12 teams right now that when Worlds or U.S. Open comes around, they says, guys, we're having it this year, but these tariffs are hard. We're not going to put up any money this year. It's just you win it, you get the title. That's all you get. And I can name you 12 teams that's going. Yeah. It's that pride. It's that we're going to go and fight. And till somebody out there changes my opinion on any of this, Georgia houses some of the world's best bow fishers, and there's some guys here that are numbers guys. There's some guys here that are Big 20 guys that will come to your state and take your title and come back home to Georgia. Right. And there's some key players across the United States and other states. There's some boys in Arkansas doing some really big things. There's some boys in Kentucky that's hurting a lot of feelings right now. There's some of these gunslingers out of Texas that are big-time numbers guys that are going around taking a lot of people's titles from them. And as a competitive person, that my whole life has been rooted in being competitive. When a team from out of state comes to your home state and takes the title home from you, it does something to you. It ain't the money. It's not the money.
Your team that you had, was it friends that you had grew up with, a couple of them, or was it people you had met throughout the years of bow fishing places?
No, so starting off, the main team that I had was we did the whole Reaper bow fishing thing. It was kind of something that I come up with, and come up with the name. Got my buddies and said, "Hey, let's go shoot some of these tournaments," and we had an absolute ball doing it. But then the team that I actually got with that we started taking very, very serious things. Like I told you, we'd travel wherever the tournament was. If we were trailering allowed, we would literally draw, okay, if we got a 12-hour window or a 14-hour window, how far can we drive away from weigh in? How many fish do we think we can harvest in this time, and how much time is it going to take for us to get back? So that team there was made up of one other gentleman from Georgia and two other gentlemen from South Carolina that were all, I knew, very, very serious about bow fishing. They had already had a very reputable I'm at a lost words here. Very, very reputable.
They were known for what they done background.
Yeah, from what they did. They had won some tournaments. They were very serious about it.
Right.
And I knew in each and every one of them that there was going to be no reason why they didn't put forth everything that they could to win. And I was at that point then in my life too. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to go out here and make a name for myself.
Right. So getting off the bow fishing a little bit. So what got you into gator hunting? You love to hunt them alligators.
Oh, man. Alligators just do something for me. I know, as fortunate and as blessed as I am to be able to witness as many harvests as I have over the years and be able to take in as many as I have, people think that I got some kind of unworldly hate for alligators. But
I call him Amos Moses because he likes to knock them in the head with a stump. That's what I tell I tripped BT out with that one. I said,
yeah.
So have you ever heard that song? That's Evan Rachel right there.
and in actuality, I probably have a deep rooted love for alligators that most people probably can't understand or relate to. Ever since I was a child, I remember seeing some of the first first alligators, my dad would show me from time to time, or I'd see them on TV, or we'd go to an aquarium and you'd see alligators. And I was always just so infatuated with them, almost like those gar I was telling you about in the water. When you see something, you know that their ancestry has been around for so long. They're so resilient to weather, everything else. Like I'm just very intrigued by them. And so, in 2003 was Georgia's first actual alligator season, and they had, back then I think they issued like 200 tags maybe or something. It was or maybe 130, and there were 2,500 applicants. And it went off that quota system that they still run to this day.
Right.
And so I'd always been around alligators, infatuated with them. I mean, I remember, where I grew up in Glasscock County was right on the Ogeechee, and right by there is Chalker Swamp. And it's funny, everybody from Washington County thinks I'm from Glasscock County. Everybody from Glasscock County thinks I'm from Washington County. I grew up on the Ogeechee in the middle. My family's from both sides of there, but Chalker Swamp is the heartbeat right in the middle of those two towns. And I would go down there on my four-wheeler or bicycle or whatever, and I'd find certain ponds or certain sloughs that I knew had alligators in them, and I'd just sit and watch them for as long as I could. Just everything about them infatuated me. And so I started learning as much as I could about them. And then in high school, in 2003, I was still in high school, and that's when the first season come about. So I was like, what do I got to do to do this alligator hunting stuff? So I started putting in, trying to build points and everything like I aggravate everybody every year so much about, and started trying to work towards getting my first tag. And I was fortunate enough to, when I was younger, to be able to tag along with some other people that alligator hunted from time to time. And it was a very primitive style of hunting. It was you've heard me refer to it on the boat like we're about to dance now. We're about to dance. Like you lock in on that one that you're after, and it's a dance. And what we're wanting to know is that alligator going to stumble, or am I going to stumble? You know, and that's what you're doing. And a lot of people, as you've seen, they don't have the patience or the willpower that I have. But it's knowing that alligator beat me, I just can't sleep that good at night. I really can't. But I have respect for them, and I will come back for them no matter what. Yeah,
you'll wait one out in a heartbeat.
I
your most normal people, Evan's going to be there till the sun comes up if he ain't got that gator. And
exactly,
I about was there with him that one night with Chris's alligator. And I don't mind it either. You get into it. I'm kind of competitive or the same way when it comes to hunting. It's the same way me. I love to turkey hunt. It's like a turkey gobbling. Yeah, it's hard to leave him if he just gives me a gobble every so often. I know he's still there. You know what I mean?
It's it. They do something for me, man. I studied way harder probably about alligators than I did any other subject out of school or anything. To know something and to be good at something, you've got to study it and you've got to know it. So I wanted to learn about their habits, what drove them, what made them do what they did, and then honing in and fine-tuning them skills of, how they react to what I do. How they, and a lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people even, they're like, man, that Evan, he just knows, and there's some kind of big mythological complex of Evan's the gator man. How many times did I ask you the other night, Jamie, what do you think we need to do? I don't know, this is what you do, Evan. I'm like, man, I'm playing so many scenarios as well as what you probably do with a turkey that's hung up on you. You hear him gobbling, you're like, do I call? Do I sit? Do I move? You're going to play out each scenario, and really we get to be our own worst enemy when that happens. And
it's kind of crazy because if you don't know out there, you go down the river at night, or wherever you're going, and Evan uses these red lights. It's just like the predator lights that they uses, and you shine for their eyes. And I think that's one thing Evan likes about me. I think I got a knack for seeing them. You know what I mean?
You got it.
And I do. I love. That's one of my favorite parts. Is man, there he is right there on the bank. I see him, and so it's cool to me. It is infatuating, just that time of night on that river and going and finding them red eyes, and then you don't know what size it is. You get to pull up in there. I mean, the hunt's just it's a thrill in itself. And then you pull up there and you see a big old knot that's 10, 12 inches out there in front of his eyes, and that's a daggone good gator, and this is what we want to hunt. And I don't know, it's fun. It's a lot to it.
It's the highest high and lowest lows in hunting that I've ever experienced. Deer, duck, turkeys, squirrels. It's the highest highs and lowest lows. I've been beaten by several alligators before. But it's just so infatuating. Like, you know, I remember telling you about one of the times we were in Lake Seminole, which is Zone 2 down there, guiding for a guy that reached out and contacted me, and we were just scouting, and you know, in my boat with all the lights, you know, we light it up, and generally clear water, you know, we can see 8-10 feet down, and generally we're cruising around in 4 feet of water, but just easing over the top of one of these alligators, this actual 12+ foot alligator, and watching them move in that water to this day puts chills on me. And you want to step towards the center of the boat, like, I don't want to fall off of this thing with this alligator. It's very humbling to see these gators in their natural element and everything, and it's just it's hard to really put into words that how much they mean to me. I realized that the way the state of Georgia did things, that I would be very lucky to get a gator tag every 6 to 7 years. And so the first thing that I thought of is, how can I keep gator hunting?
Right. So I'm
going to learn. I'm going to get real good, and I'm going to tell everybody, hey, when you get a gator tag, call me. I'll come help you. Yeah, I'll come help you. And so in a way, it was really, for me, being selfish, wanting to gator hunt more and more. But the more it's naturally, like, the more I did it, the more that I honed my skills in, and really, you talk about people in Georgia hunting alligators in an airboat, and they don't think that that's the right way to do it. But I developed a very unorthodox way that seems to work for me.
I've hunted the other way. I've hunted out of little John boats in big ponds or in sloughs, and you know, before. And to me, yeah, if you go into a pond, and I mean, you got a John boat, even with a trolling motor, and I kill mine with a crossbow, with the fishing crossbow rig, you know, or shot it behind the neck, got the buoy on it, was just an adrenaline rush, you know, and it was fun. And I mean, in that little boat with 3 of us in there, it was really fun. And I'm not putting that way down at all, because I'd go do it in a heartbeat. If I got a chance to get in with Trey Renfro and go with somebody and was able to get back in Black Lake, because I was able to hunt there, one of the biggest alligators I've ever seen in my life, I would be there, because you're in that swamp, you're in that place, you know what I mean? And that was pretty awesome. But I will say, being in your airboat, because like you saying and hearing people, how can you do it out of an airboat? Oh, I see it now. That's the way to do it. You know what I mean? If you're gonna kill a gator on that river, it's gonna be in that airboat. You know what I mean? It is. And you're gonna dance with him, like you said. You know,
and it's a very intimate hunt. It's you know, I don't lie to people. It's not the safest hunt. It's not. You're hunting a creature that can kill you, and it's come close to getting me a few times with some of the stories I've told you about. You know, I'm not proud of some of the things that I've done gator hunting. Mainly gator hunting by myself. You know. You know, it's dangerous. I'm not in one way ever going to say that it's not dangerous. There's a very big creature that does not want you around it. There's a lot of ropes involved with how you have to do things with the state of Georgia. There's lines, there's ropes, there's a lot of stuff involved with it. And, you know, that's a lot of times, you know, I'll always tell you, man, 4 or 5 people on the boat's about really I want to allow. And if there's children there, then we're probably going to have 2 or 3 adults and those children there, and pretty much zip tie those children to those seats and let them watch, because it's easy to get knocked off a boat. You've seen how that, when it gets to be the violent mode, when we're about to get there, that boat swinging around, hitting stumps from one way or the other, tipping over, it gets to be very, very fast paced. And for some reason, that's kind of the world that I live in, that I love to live in, that just fast paced, let's get it. You know, that I think that stems from my background and upbringing in racing, you know, racing motorcycles and stuff. I love that adrenaline and fast pace.
So you're telling people, you know, with all the ropes and everything. So explain what you use to really catch an alligator. You can't go kill an alligator like people think. You can't shoot a rifle. You can't shoot one with a rifle. You got to go actually catch that gator. Yeah.
So in the state of Georgia, you know, it varies throughout the country. And if I had $1 for every time someone said, "Oh, you do it like they do on Swamp People, the TV show, you just hang a hook and like." Highly illegal in the state of Georgia. You cannot hunt them like that here. So in the state of Georgia, you can't even possess a rifle while you're hunting. Like the other night, if we would have had a rifle on that boat, we technically would have been illegal. We could have been cited for that. So technically in the state of Georgia, and please somebody call me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty up to date on the bow fishing laws and gator hunting laws around Georgia. So in the state of Georgia, before you can actually dispatch an alligator, being with, you know, severing the spinal cord, a bang stick, which we'll get into that too, and a a pistol caliber is the 3 legal ways. Before you can dispatch that gator, you have to have a line permanently attached to that gator, whether it be from a rod and reel and a treble hook attached to him up against the boat, whether it be a harpoon with a rope and a float on it, or an arrow like I used with that harpoon gun that I developed in the gator with a float on it. So, you have really those 3 methods, and we can go through each one of them, but as you've seen, which one's my favorite. But we'll start off with the old rod and reel, the old faithful, the thing that I'm the worst at. You see me throw these things; it's horrible.
I'm gonna hang it up every time.
I'm the worst.
First cast out there is getting hung, and I'm gonna lose a treble hook.
I've got better luck closing my eyes throwing at these alligators with it. And my buddy Shane that you've met that comes up from Florida from time to time to help me, man. He's a typical Florida man. He'll put that treble hook in a 5-gallon bucket 50 yards away, just effortless. But that's his talent. That's his wheelhouse. But the rod and reel method with the hook, that's probably what I see in the state of Georgia is used the most. I can't tell you how many people I see on Seminole, Eufaula, all these lakes just rodding and reeling them. It's a very effective method. And a lot of them will do it during the day, which depending on what time of year it is, some alligators are a lot easier to get. We're getting to that stage now with the temperatures to where during the day would be the time to go. Another way is the harpoons. That's my heart. I got tired of losing harpoons, so I started developing and building my own. They're very, very easy. And that just developed over years of doing that. I pretty much use a long piece of 1/2-inch galvanized plumbing that I neck the end down. I have a regular old bolt, fine thread bolt that I've shaved down. I put my harpoon point on there. I make my own wire lanyards, and I go to a really thick rope, and then go to like a boat bumper, which I consider a float that I wrap with reflective tape. And so what that harpoon does is when you hit that alligator, and that harpoon goes up under its skin and it lodges in there, and it has the 3 openings on it to where it can't come back out. It could, but you've really got to do some stuff. And I keep that larger rope on the harpoon for. You've seen it even with the gator that we got recently getting tangled up in all those snares and drags and stuff like that. So the heavier the line, the more you can snug on them. And it's so funny thinking back to I was blessed and fortunate enough to a few years ago to take Justin's daughter, I think it's Jenna Seymour, and her alligator got tangled up in a log jam, and I said, if we get a harpoon in it, I can pull him out of that log jam with this boat. And that's exactly what we did. We got a harpoon in him, and I took that thick rope, and we literally broke the top off of a tree under the water with that alligator on it. So that's why I'm so adamant about my harpoons. Plus, it's just... Man, you can't deny how cool it looks with me on the front of that boat with that harpoon, man. It's just, man.
You're the man up there. And I'm going to tell you, an alligator better watch out, because I watched him the other night. We had an alligator that got hung up in the one he was talking about, and you do not want Evan putting a harpoon around you, because I watched him sink one slam through an 8-foot alligator from one end to the other. The alligator was not getting off of that rope.
A little bit of aggression behind that harpoon there. A little bit of aggression.
Yeah, that gator had done made him mad.
Yeah, it did. And then, the other method that we used to use was we would use a bow and arrow or a crossbow, and we would put that AMS jug system that I spoke about. We would rig it up on there to where it would go to a float. You'd have your line that would go to a float, and it would go to an arrow tip. I use what we call breakaway heads. Half the alligators I shoot, you see how crazy they go, rolling. They'd break the arrows off. So people that would just tie to the back of the arrows, it'd snap it off, and that gator's gone. Right. When you attach to the head and embed it in that gator, you've got a better chance. So we started out with bows that we could turn up to 50 pounds, but 2 foot in the water, you had to really shot placement. You had to get in the softer side of the skin, the sides, in this area. You couldn't directly in the back. That was the armor, as we call it. So then we would go to these crossbows that would shoot a lot faster, and crossbows absolutely terrify me. And we would go to these crossbows using them, and man, we've had them blow up in the boat on us, and just you missed going through the whole cocking thing on a boat. It gets to be a little terrifying. Right. So it was probably, and I may have this all wrong, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, there was a company called Umer-X. I saw something on, it was either YouTube or Facebook, some social media platform, and they were advertising this bolt action gun that was air compressed, like these big time pellet rifles they're doing. But this one actually shot crossbow bolts, hollowed crossbow bolts. And I saw that thing, and the first thing went through my head was like, I bet I could make a float gun out of that. So I ordered one. They weren't even that expensive. I think it was $300 for it. And then I bought a hand pump, which I do not recommend that. Pumping these guns up with that high compression pump with a hand pump will let you know exactly how out of shape you are. Right. So I bought the pump system that you saw. It's a high compression pump system like for scuba tanks, and it pumps it up. But this gun is literally set up like a thumb hole stock bolt action gun. You've held it, you felt it, and it has it looks like an over-under shotgun because the bottom chamber is where your compressed air is. The top chamber is a rod that the arrow goes on with a encasing over it. And I saw that it had pickaninny rails on the front, and I said, man, we could mount an AMS jug to that and mount a float to it as well. And that gun at full capacity will shoot 500 feet per second, and you'll get about 4 or 5 shots out of it without refilling it at 500 feet per second. And that's what an $1,800 crossbow will do, and this was $300. So we got that, and we started playing around with it, and it comes with these carbon spined arrows. And so I was playing around with the tips, what tips we're going to use, and I was like going with my same Gator tips, called a Gator grapple. I love these tips, and we rigged the thing up. We shot it around the house a few times, and we're like, man, can't wait to debut this thing. And that year, the first year that a gentleman from up around Carrollton, Georgia, I believe, works for the same company I work for, he contacted me and said, man, I've already had 10 or 12 people contact me with Zone 5 tags, Zone 9 tags, which is all around here. And he contacted me. He was the first person to contact me with a Zone 2 tag, which was Lake Seminole. And man, he top of the list. Yeah. Immediately goes to the top of the list with that Zone 2 tag. Seminole's a place created by God. Truly, it is a gator hunter's paradise. And so we went down that year, and I talked with him about what we were wanting to try to do with that gun and how to use it. And I've got a bit of a reputation around Seminole with some of the fish camps and stuff like that. People kind of know the name. They don't know me personally. They know the name. They say, when these guys come down here every year and they get some gators. And so we went down there that year just eating at a restaurant, and we had our Reaper stuff on, a couple of the guys that helped me. And one guy come up to me and said, y'all got somebody coming for gator hunting? And I said, yes, sir, we got a couple of them this year coming. He said, well, I got this docking area over here, and I got a big alligator that keeps tearing them up. And I said, really? I said, tell me a little bit more about it. He said, man, he comes down this channel every afternoon, about 6 o'clock, comes right down this channel. This is where he lives. And he comes in here getting in these boat stalls, and he would lay on the 2x6s and 2x8s in them boat stalls. And when other alligators would come in there, male alligators are very, very territorial, especially 2-3 weeks out of the year. They're very territorial. When other gators would come out of there, he would thrash at them so hard he was tearing up the actual 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, just tearing boat stalls up. And, a lot of people can't fathom the amount of power that are in these creatures, that how much power they have. And so when he told me that, man, my blood just starts pumping. And I said, man, we're going to get this gator. This is the one we're going to figure out. And this is going to be too easy. We can do this from the dock. I ain't even got to put the boat in the water. So we sit and we wait on that gator the first night with this gentleman, a client of mine, and this gator comes down through there, and we watch him the whole time. And his eyes, as I use these red lights, it'll reflect the gator's eyes from a mile away. Something about that red light that does it, and it doesn't typically bother their eyes as much as the halogen colored ones do. And we watched this gator come down through there, and it looked like 2 golf balls coming out through there. I was like, this is a big boy right here. So he goes and he actually gets in a boat stall, lays in this boat stall. And I tell this gentleman, I said, look, I'm going to go over there with you with this red light. We're going to get on this boat dock. We're going to shoot this gator. It's going to get very up close and personal. He's probably going to come thrashing out of here, but just bear with me. We're going to be all right. And he's on board with it, man. I've never seen anybody that was on board with something. I'm almost sitting there questioning him, like, you don't even know me right now. You're putting a lot of trust in me. So we ease over there. And my other buddies, of course, are across the cove. And when I say across the cove, they're, 60, 70 yards. They can hear and see what's going on.
Right.
And so we get over there, and they're telling us, hey, go down one more stall. He's in one more stall, and kind of navigating us. And we get over there, and I take my red light. As you've seen, I used 2 different ones. I had my handheld Predator Tactics red light. I undid it from the square, did the big flood light where I could drown the whole area. And then when I shine over my buddy's back that's got this tag, when I shine over and see the monstrosity of this gator that's laying there, is just it just puts all kind of chills on you, knowing that there's something that big out there. And this is a 10-foot shot with this gun. And I told him, I said, put it right on his back, try to hit him in the spine. This gator's going to absolutely go berserk. And I was scared that he was going to pull that float off with how big of an alligator this was. And so he pulled the trigger. We heard a loud bam, and heard all kind of ruckus of that gator blowing out of there. I felt the whole dock moving. I thought the whole dock was going to crumble up underneath us. And I'm like, where's the float? Why ain't the float going? Where's the float? Where ain't the float going? And we look, and we had pretty much Elmer Fudded that carbon arrow. I did not take into account how light that carbon arrow was. And what this gun does is it pushes compressed air in that arrow, and the front of the arrow is blocked off, so then it propulses the arrow out.
Right.
So with that carboned arrow being so thin that it was, and me putting this big gigantic head on it,
right,
it blew the spines out of that, and it literally the tip fell off and hit the ground, and the carbon arrows fanned out, and this gator's gone. You know,
and you just made him mad. That's what you did.
I made a believer out of that alligator right there. And then that you always hear people talk about, man, that's the girl that got away. That's the gator that got away from me.
Yeah,
it hurt my heart.
That's the ones you think about the most. That's the one the most. Yeah.
It did, and that year that gator never let us get anywhere near that close to him again. And as you've seen how these alligators act once you mess with them a little bit, and that gator never let us get close to him again. But we cut our losses. We still got a very good, reputable gator that year for that client. I think it was 11.6, 11.8 or something like that. Still a really good gator. And the first thing I did when I come home is I started some R&D, some research and development. How do I improve on this? I still believed in the gun. I believed in what that Umarex could do for me with gator hunting and for the world of gator hunting. And I reached out to another local gentleman out of Augusta, Georgia, named Tracker Jack Woods. And man, he's a legend in the gator hunting and bow fishing community. And I've even still got VHS tapes of him doing how to gator hunt. And I told him what I was trying to do, and he said, well, bring it to me. Let's figure this thing out. And so he got some of the old 1980 Easton aluminum arrows. It was just, you know, your daddy used to have, and retrofitted them to where we could use them, and we field tested it over and over and over again, and it proved to be pretty flawless. We had to make a few adjustments here and there, but overall it got to be pretty flawless, and it got to be very effective. That gun was very effective because now when I'm taking, you know, 16, 17-year-old clients and stuff like that, especially, you know, a smaller frame female that's got a gator tag, man, you hand them that big old harpoon I got, man, that thing's pretty big and it's people fall off the boat, you know. And so with developing that gun, it really opened the door to me being able to provide for clients that would contact me and having a little bit better of an ease. A lot of people are familiar with a gun. That thing feels like a 10/22 in your arms. I
mean, the thing about that gun is the kids that I know that really grow up hunting like we did, a 10 or 12-year-old kid could shoot a gator with that gun when you explain to it.
All day.
The only thing I might, and you've already talked about it, that you don't have any sight on it, and I know you might be looking at putting a red dot on it. Because I was thinking, which I run them on my turkey guns and all, but I was like a Vortex Venom, little red dot will be, or a laser, you know. Yeah, so the funny thing about lasers when it comes to the world of bow fishing is they do not refract. So when you shine a laser through that water, where it's going, if you have that gun zeroed in, generally it's going that same direction. As the laser.
You're not really having to shoot up under.
And what made me think about the laser, because the crossbow that I shot my gator with, that's what was it had a laser on it. You know?
There's a few gentlemen now that have reached out once I started messing with the air gun that were doing gator hunts, really curious about it, really you know, asking me lots of questions about them, and you know, I'm very open with my tactics and what I use. A lot of people think I'm very secretive about that. I'm secretive about when I find a good gator. I'm dead serious about that. But I'm willing to talk and help anybody with how they gator hunt. I want to see everybody be very successful. We're fortunate enough to have a wonderful gator season in the state of Georgia. This more than quadrupled at how many tags they give out every year, and I love to get people to experience that same stuff, even if it's not with me. And so with that, I've seen there's a gentleman over in South Carolina now, Cole Popeland with Renegade Bow Fishing. He is doing some work on some gators. I look up to him real highly with what he's doing, and a lot of it he's using those air guns. Right. And man, he if you're in South Carolina and you get a gator tag and you're near Cooper Lake, Cooper River, Cole Popeland Renegade Bow Fishing is your man. He's pulling some absolute dinosaurs out of that place over there using those float guns.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So how many, just, you figuring, you asked me, we was sitting there talking, you asked me how many turkeys have I killed, and I can't tell you, and I know you've had the years, but how many gators do you think you've taken? I know you got a pile that's got away, but as far as tags through the years, what's your best season? I'll put it that way. That you would, people having tags, Seminole here and everywhere. What's the most? Best
season for me was 14 gators.
14 gators.
I'm pretty sure it was just 12 or 14, but I'm pretty sure it was around that. And that was a record breaking year. I mean, you're talking about, my first few years of gator hunting, I was lucky and successful if I got one person help one person get a gator,
right.
and every year I wanted to outdo myself every year, and man, I'm very proud of that season. I'm very glad that I was able to do that and help a lot of people and getting to witness them get that gator is one of the main reasons I'm there, to see that joy in them and what it does for them. But Jamie, man, you talking about run ragged. You see what those big 160 bucks look like after the rut, man. You tired, and I would look at back at. I'm like, man, this $80,000 boat is torn to pieces. I am losing weight.
And we go back to talking about the Evan Rachels that ain't going to give up on an alligator. And I mean, if you better tell him. We took one of his buddies the other day, old Earl. And Earl gave him a time limit, and he still kept. I ain't even going to ask how late they stayed out because I left them and said, I'm going home. Y'all have at it.
Like I say, man, Madison Earl, man, that's the 82-year-old man trapped in a 32-year-old's body right there. And
how late did y'all stay out that night?
Me and Shane stayed out until I think 2 o'clock. Earl checked out about 1 on the boat, sleeping on the boat, in an airboat. If you want to know just how tired he was, he slept
while you was running down the river.
Yeah, slept the whole time. Slept the whole way home. We were looking for that last gator in a spot that you know very well. Yep. And the last thing I remember looking back there, and I heard from Earl, man, let's put this thing on the trailer, boys. I said, okay, we will. But I never want to give up, but I'm a realist too. And the things that I know about these alligators and the temperature that it had gotten to, I knew what these alligators were doing. I knew that it would have truly been an alligator that something had to agitate for it to be out there. Under 70 degrees, a lot of times these alligators quit eating. They quit feeding, and then at 50, 55, a thing called brumation sets in, and that's hibernation for reptiles. Right. And they will just get lethargic. They will be near the water, very rarely in the water, and they'll slow their heart rate down to 1 or 3 beats a minute.
So you don't like it when your early season deer bow hunters are talking about how glad they are that the weather's cooled off.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Man, it needs to say 85 till the middle of October.
It does, and this year the cooler weather kind of come on pretty quick. We had like a typical Georgia fake fall, and then now I do believe we're in fall with the way that, I can remember back just 2 years ago, this same time, my memories would pop up from time to time. We were on Seminole having to make each other drink water because it was 90-something degrees. Right. But it was some of the best gator hunting we've had. The temperature directly affects these alligators in ways that most people don't think of. But it has it's a reptile at the end of the day. It has a very dramatic effect on them.
I mean, for me, for my season of gator hunting with you, and I'm just blessed and glad to get to gator hunt with you this year, I felt like we did pretty good because I was 2 for 4, even though you kept me out that day. Yeah,
you my lucky charm. Let me tell you, the first time I went without you and I didn't get a gator that year, I was like, no, I'm going to have to call Jamie. He's going to have to start gator hunting. And to be honest, everyone that knows me knows I have the eyesight of a mole. You know this. Right. Everyone knows this. I have terrible vision. I actually have a genetic eye disease that's called keratoconus that I was supposed to be scheduled this year. I waited 3 months to get it scheduled. They scheduled me right there at the beginning of August to have this surgery where they pretty much cut my eye open and reshape it, put some dye in there, and a UV light hardens my eye because my eye pupils are shaped like footballs.
You're making me just where I don't want to look forward to you even having that. Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's not very appealing. It's not one of these. Everybody's like, "You gonna go get LASIK?" I'm like, I wish. Unfortunately for me, but it's gotten to the point to where I have trouble with work. I have trouble with hunting and fishing with my eyesight. It's a very real thing. But they scheduled me at the beginning of August, and man, that's alligator season. So I said we're gonna have to push it out. But, riding with you, seeing you pick up on these alligators, how quick, I mean, you definitely have a skill and a knack for it. But at the same time, it makes me realize, man, how many of these am I missing when it's just me? Right. And that's another reason why when I get on that boat, I hand out red lights to everybody. Hey, right. Tell me if you see something. Tell me if you see something. It's a help, and I can only be as good of an alligator hunter that my body physically will allow.
I think that's just me. I mean, me really, even doing it with friends in the past is just going. That's one of the thrill of the hunts to me, is having the lights and looking for the eyes. You know what I mean? And seeing the eyes. That's part of it. It's like, I guess in a way, and I know just don't compare, but in a way it does. It's like striking that turkey. It's like, bam, there he is. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they glow so much until you see it. You can't really tell anybody. It's like a reflecting light. That's right. Glow back so much.
I tell people all the time, we're going down through there and they see this, they see that, and even if I fall victim to it, I'll see something, man, is that a gator, is that a not? But you've known, you've seen yourself this past year, when you actually hit that set of eyes, you know. And also, I hold true to my word, anybody that is using red square reflectors up and down the rivers around here, I will buy you a box of whatever color you like, 2,000-3,000 reflectors that is not red. That's right. Because how many trees did we come to with set lines with red reflectors, thinking there was a 10, 12-foot alligator sitting there,
Yeah, I agree on that 100%. But then what's the trip is a gator we killed the other night. I have to tell this story. We was riding down, and we done seen a couple of gators, and, they were either small or whatever, and one of them wasn't, but we just knew he wasn't going to play the game, got away from us pretty quick. But anyway, we're going down the river, and man, I hit just bam, that's a gator. He hit Evan on the leg. He's driving the airboat, so I'm looking. I have to about hit him to let him know over here's gator. And anyway, we get to getting close to it, and the thing's in the middle of the tree that's hanging over the thing. And I'm like, no, it's a red reflector. And Evan's like, that looks like a gator eye more than a red. I'm like, no, it's a red reflector. It's in the middle of the tree. We ease up around, and all of a sudden, this gator, like nothing you'd ever think of, comes out of the tree and starts sliding in the water. And you see this huge tail. So this gator is not in the water whatsoever. It's like he's just sitting up in this tree. And he slides out, and we're like, holy moly, that's a pretty good sized gator.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, it's like, how in the world, what's going on?
He kept coming, just kept coming out.
Us. Well, we eased up, and by the time we hit the lights, there's a piece of probably 12-inch culvert or bigger, big piece of culvert.
Drain culvert somebody puts to make a driveway.
A driveway or something done washed down there and got hung in the tree. And the culvert pipe was probably about 6 to 8 foot long, I would say. It's hard to really tell because a part of it went in the water. The other part was stuck up in the middle of that tree. Yeah. So that gator, you could tell, was going back in the water, going down, going up in that culvert and hanging out up in that tree, watching the river. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, never in a million years have I ever seen that. I would have believed somebody telling me that. And the fact that we knew that was when the gentleman did put that shot on that gator, which was a fabulous shot with that air gun. That gator was trying to go back to that culvert. It was. It was trying to go back to that culvert.
It was a place he wouldn't have really had to have his head stuck out. He could have got in that pipe and been hit, halfway down it. Yeah. And we realized that even after he come out the first time when we went back waiting on him. I mean, he popped back up and he was it was right there in that direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They all have their safe spaces. I showed you that. You know, when you get to messing with that alligator, the first time you bump them or move them, you pretty much can guarantee the place they go to after that, that's their safe place. And you know as well as I do, these alligators, the ones that we would mess with, the 400 yards up and down that river, they know every log, they know every nook and cranny, they know every hole, and they've got that area that they feel safe at. And then, you know, as with that first gator, me and you finding that first gator within 10 minutes right at the season opener, and I'm, no, Jamie, I don't think that's, you know, something worth messing with. Let's go on down. Surely there ain't one this big right here. Let's go on down. And then the end of that night, kept looking and like, man, I don't know if we're getting tired, but that gator's looking bigger and bigger.
Right.
And then me telling you, we got to go look at this thing. And at the same time, I'm telling you, man, if we get close to this gator, he ain't going to let us get back close to him that night. And you saw how that went, you know.
Yeah, because I made the comment. We had to actually call and get the boy out of bed that had the tag because we didn't even have a tag. Several people was like, y'all find a gator, call me. Yeah, nobody wanted to answer the phone. Finally got the boy out of the bed and headed that way. And I made the comment, we'll get this gator in 10 minutes. Just get on up here. Yeah, that turned into from, I think, 11 o'clock to 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
deal.
Long
but
night.
that gator found a little deep hole and was just going down in it
Every
and staying
time.
in it. And it's amazing how a gator, just say an 8-foot gator, I've learned 30 minutes easy. They can stay down.
That's it. You got to put them on a time clock.
You know what I mean?
Tell people all the time, especially, you know, in these lakes, you know, my unorthodox method, I dance with these gators and I tire them out. Either I'm going to get tired or they get tired. And, you know, we'd make a run at these gators and you've seen it firsthand. You know, the first time they'd go down, you can get a generalization of the size of a gator with how long they can stay down. Big gator, big lungs. And, you know, we've seen them stay down for an hour or so. But like I say, put them on that clock. They stay down an hour. As soon as they come back up, go after them again. They'll go down 45 minutes, go after them again, 30 minutes. And then you're going to get down to that 10-minute period where they're going to fight. The last thing they're going to do is fight. We're not going down anymore. We're going to fight. Right. And that's when I like to dance with them.
The 4 times we've been, and just me and you talking though, you've actually taught me a lot about gator hunting and what you kind of look for, because you could tell, which I've knew this in the past, a bigger gator, the bigger the eyes. Yeah. And I mean, you look at something and it looks like a 50-cent piece looking back at you. You know, that's a good sized gator. You get a little red eye, you can tell it's a smaller gator. I've noticed this too with the smaller gators. The smaller gators, even with that airboat, when you run up on them, they're at that stupid little young age that they will try to climb the bank to get away from you.
They hang out in the bank.
They don't realize they could just go underwater and swim the other way. They're trying to do their best to just get away from you. Yeah. Big gator, he's going to sink, and I've learned this too, that if you see like the one we run up on a couple of weeks ago that I thought we was actually going to kill, and we was sitting there and I actually shined the light and there he is swimming across the river, and I'm like, man, he's right. I mean, he was there. He was close enough for us to bite shoot with the air gun if we would have been really paying attention, but we wasn't expecting him to do it. He just beat us right off the bat. You know what I mean? I'm
glad you brought that gator up. That's a very intimate relationship I have with that particular gator. I've hunted that gator for 4 years now, and that gator's he always seems to put the slip on me, really does. But no, what you say is 100% true from what I know, from my experiences, and I don't doubt that it's different in different states and different areas, but from my experience, what I generally go for is I would meet people, and I used to be like this too when I was young and gator hunting. I'm going to get in the back of this swamp and slough where can't nobody just break my neck getting back here, because that's for that big one, man. That big gator ain't there. They're picky. Big gators want big water. They want deeper water where they can control their temperature by going down, coming up. They want real clean big water because they don't want to be dealing with all this brush and everything. You're talking about a 500-600 pound creature. Right. You know, and every time that I've ran up on a bigger alligator, even if they were on the bank, the first thing they do is they go to the water. They go to the deep side, and that's generally how I'm like, okay, this is probably one we need to try to go after. Whereas those small ones, they're going to stay in the brush piles. They're going to go up against the bank. They're going to, when we get up on them, they're going to come right back up by the boat. It's just a young adolescent alligator. It hadn't really learned yet. The older ones, and I don't think people can really understand that when I say these bigger alligators, you know, 10 plus foot alligators, you're talking about a 40 to 50 year old creature that has been hunted and it knows. They're extremely smart animals. They really are.
Right. So, you did guide for a little while gator hunting and all for the last few years of season, and you told me just the last year or so that really you just kind of scale back on the guiding part, and really you're doing it with people. You're not, you was getting paid pretty good money, because you told me some of what you would get paid to go, and I know it costs money. People need to realize, I mean, that airboat, it goes through some gas. You hauling that thing goes through some gas. It costs money, but I know that the price you was putting on for some of these people to go to like Seminole and all that was you was probably coming out pretty decent and having fun of doing what you was doing, and you scale back, and now you just want to do it with friends or do it with people and help people.
Yeah. That's so true. It started off, and as I got into it, it was really just, I'm going to do whatever I can do to gator hunt as much as I can, because that was my passion for it. Well, then when I realized that I had a little bit of a skill when it came to gator hunting, people were contacting me more and more, and I was like, man, not only can I do this, hopefully they'll pay for me to be able to do this. And so that kind of grew to like, I'm going to tell you an outrageous price to where you're going to make it worth my while if you really want me to go. And when you wait 5 to 8 years to get a tag, and you get that tag, you want to get a gator. You want to get a good gator, And so I got to where I was doing that, but in a way, and a lot of people don't realize it with me, in a way, I am a people pleaser, and that's not always a positive thing. Sometimes that can be a fault, and I would sacrifice my sleep. I would sacrifice time with loved ones. I would sacrifice time with family to go get these alligators. And it really wasn't, at some of the points, it really wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, is what I felt like I had to do. And then especially when someone's paying you that amount of money, you've got to perform. And somebody like me, I take that very serious, and it puts a weight on you. It puts a weight on your shoulders. It puts a weight on your heart, where you've got to perform, and you're sacrificing everything you can to make this happen for these people. And so what I've learned, and that's kind of what happened to the tournament bow fishing for me too. I sacrificed a lot of things. I sacrificed a lot of nephews' football games and stuff like that, birthday parties. You miss a lot of that stuff. And I regret missing some of those things. And so these past few years, really it just turned into, I want to get back to just my friends. And I'm blessed and fortunate enough that I've got a big group of friends that still pull gator tags, and it's enough for me to be able to hunt 4 or 5 times a year. And if I have free time and other people contact me, and now I tell them, hey, just cover the fuel costs. I still want to go. If I have time, we're going to do that. But right. The past few years, I've tried to realign a lot of things in my life to getting back to what fulfills me a little bit, being a little selfish, so to speak, with that. And I've really gotten back to the basics of it. And back to the basics with bow fishing too, with just, like I told you the other night, we was out there and just me and 2 of my good friends out there, man, we didn't care if we killed 2 fish or 200. We all knew we was truly lucky and truly blessed to be on that boat in that moment and living in that moment, not worried about winning a contest, not worried about getting a 12-foot alligator, just organically being in the moment. And that's what's kind of really set in on me these past few years. I'll always have a passion for gator hunting. I'll always have a passion for bow fishing. In a lot of ways, bow fishing saved my life. And I'll do that to the day that God calls me home. I will do those 2 things. But going forward, I choose to do it with loved ones.
Right.
And that's just how I feel about it now.
And something that I think that I can see you doing in your future, because I'm learning who you are and being around you, knowing who you are, is those 12-year-old boys, like you saying, that come up to you at the boat ramp. I would never want you to get or do away with Reaper. No. Because Reaper, it's an awesome logo, it's an awesome name, but I think the biggest thing too, and the most enjoyment, is just like me, and I can sit here and go back to kind of what you've been through from me and you talking, a little bit going into your tournament bow fishing to, your gator hunting to getting, the big head. And my thing that, has always been turkey hunting. And I love turkey hunting. I love it so much. With the passion is something that the good Lord gave me that I love it. And I was with a group of friends, and this was a good thing, but I seen it kind of go bad a little bit. I can't even lie about it in ways with even some friendships and all. And we had our TV show with turkeyologists and Combat in the Wild, and you got to doing it. You wasn't doing it for the right reason, and it got to be where it was a competition between even us that was out video and trying to make the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who could, kill? And I still have good friendships over this. I'm not saying knocking, but we've all of us has changed. All of our hearts have grown bigger towards the Lord, and things have changed. But it's like now, and you go through a spell. I went through a spell, and I mean, like you was talking about alligators, you love them, but it's like you got to hate for them. You love them, and it's the same way with turkeys. I mean, I love a turkey. Turkey's my creature, like you said. I'm fascinated. I love a turkey, man. But it's like I went through a spell. I want to kill every one of them that gobble. You know what I mean?
Kill lust.
That's right.
Kill lust.
It is, and now it's not that way. It's now if I get to go hear one, and it's just as fun. And taking kids means more to me now than anything.
That means everything. And I'm glad you mentioned that. And there's things that people have asked me about that I've stayed to myself and everything like that. There's a lot of people want to know what happened to the social media, what happened to everything like that. At one time, the Reaper bow fishing was growing like wildfire. It was, and I was priding myself on that. Everything I was doing was about capturing the film, editing it, getting it out there, and man, and I was truly blessed to be a part of that and to make it grow and still to this day. I think when I started out, I started it out with a good heart and with a good intention, and it grew into something that got away from me. It grew into something that I didn't put the God at the center of it. And we spoke before about this, and I hope through people viewing this and stuff like that I can explain it as once for everyone. Like we talked about on the boat, I would spend several thousands of dollars traveling to another state all weekend to film a bow fishing thing and do this, that, and the other, and just hours and hours of editing, hundreds of dollars in fuel, reservations, and traveling, and eating up my buddies' weekends. Hey, I need some good shooters. Come get on the boat. We're gonna make a little 3-minute video, and spend all that time and put it out there, and then it flop, and then you see somebody else on social media that doesn't really have the passion you feel like you have for that. Do certain things and then it grow, and in a way I wasn't practicing what I was preaching, and I always said I wish everybody could just clap for others until it was their time to stand up, but I wasn't doing that. I got to where I had this resentment in me, like why are they getting these clicks, why are they getting these views, look at how much hard work I'm putting into this. And then I didn't like how that was making me feel as a person. I knew it was wrong. It was wrong of me, and it had clouded up what bow fishing did for me. And like I say, and we'll get into it, but in a way, bow fishing saved my life. And I thought at the time the best thing for me to do was completely just walk away from it, get it out of my life, walk away from it. So I did stop. I stopped the social media aspect with it. The only types of social media you would see come out from me would be every year when gator season come. Hey, contact me, get gator tags. Contact me, get gator tags. That was it. In doing that, in recent years, just like I told you that, you've even seen it with some of the younger kids and stuff that would come up to me and, tug at my heart, because I realized that how much what I was doing meant to them.
Right.
And I lost sight of that. And that's what I should have been doing it for the whole time. That's what I started out doing it for. Some of the guys that would shoot with me would tell me, man, when are you going to make another video? My kids want to see it. And they'd see their dad in these videos, and man, he's a superstar. He's in a social media video. And I lost sight of a lot of things for a long time, Jamie. I really did. And I didn't like who it was turning me into. And so at that time, I figured the best thing for me to do was to turn and walk away. And I did. I turned and walked away from tournaments. Didn't want to guide gator hunts. Didn't want to do videos. Didn't want to do any of it. I wanted to get back to the organics of it, and I wanted to get back to why I'm doing this in the first place. And you know, if we go into it, you know, I've had a long life, long troubled life that a lot of it I put myself through. And, you know, growing up, everyone that knows me knows how passionate I am about motorcycles and driving them as fast as you humanly possibly can.
Right.
And racing motorcycles is a very big part of my life when I was a child. And I was really good at it. And, you know, throughout that course of action, I've had a bunch of injuries that most people would have walked away from, but just like turkey hunting, just like alligator hunting, that's not going to keep me from it. And I finally got to a point in my life to where one of my last accidents about took me out of this world. It was one of the simplest accidents I ever had. Didn't even look bad if you had it on camera. But I lost a lot of blood. And for me at that age, when that happened, seeing what I'd put my family through over the years and how they still supported me with me wanting to ride and me wanting to race. And I felt overwhelmingly selfish. And so I've figured the best thing for me to do is, you know, I'm going to hang this up. I'm just going to get a good job, get a career, and be able to ride the rest of my life and enjoy motorcycles the way I enjoy bow fishing and stuff. And so, you know, I hung that up. And yeah, I don't know if that was the best idea, because just months after that, man, I had a void in my life. I had a void that wasn't nothing filling. And you know.
Well, you told me after that too that I'm gonna pull on you a little bit, because you told me you put everything into your job and work to get to be the best job you could have, and to get to the highest that you felt like you could get to in your job. Yeah, I did, and we'll visit that too. And then just to go through that, though, you said you still had a void in your life.
Yeah, I did, and you know, after the riding and racing, I was searching for something to fill that void, and I got to hanging around with the ones that I shouldn't have been hanging around. I got to doing a lot of things I shouldn't be doing, and I struggled with a lot of that. People like me and people like you that have this addiction and passion for hunting, that can bleed over in the devil's work too. And that's the route that I went. And I let a lot of people down. I hurt a lot of people. Everything was about me. And I lost track of what my parents, what my mother, what my grandmother, what they instilled in me when I was a kid. I lost track of that. When I was doing wrong, I knew I was doing wrong, but I didn't care. And I went down there, and I lost a lot of friends going down that road that I went down. And when I thought that I was at the end of it, and going down that road, I had a person reach out to me, and I'll never forget it for as long as I live. It was Mr. B.T. Walters. He just randomly texted me, "Hey man, let's go try to shoot some fish tonight." Man, I ain't bow fished in I don't know how long, you know, and I ain't even got a boat. I ain't got a bow. Man, come on by the house. I got a boat, got some light bars on it. I got a bow too. And I said, man, you know what? Instead of going and running with the crowd I've been running with and worried about getting arrested or something like that, you know, I think I'm going to do this. And I went and spent that night with BT out there on Lake Sinclair. And, you know, man, I think we shot 6 fish. I mean, nothing. But it meant more to me than anything. BT knew my heart, and he knew my soul. And I'd even lost track of that, of who I was. And he knew what getting me back out on that water would do for me. And then the very next night, you know, hey, come on, let's do this again. I'm beating him down. Hey, you want to do this again? I love this. I'd rather do this. And then I will never forget, man, it was like a few weeks after that, he told me he was selling the boat. And I was like, don't sell the boat, man. Don't do that. And but in a way, it showed me, you know, my friends are still there. And the Evan that people knew inside of me, he was still there. I lost him. I lost track of him. And through people like that, you know, you surround yourself with them, because they got true love for you, and they want the best out of you. And the crowd that I was running with for the longest time, they didn't want the best with me. Misery loves company. You know, if I'm gonna do something bad, I want some other people to do it with me. I don't want to do it by myself.
That's right.
And I was easily over into that. And you know, I'd leaned into bow fishing hard, hot and heavy, and then that's what this whole Reaper thing come of. I just got so into it and threw myself at it. At the same time, trying to fill a void with bow fishing now, you know. And then I am very, very blessed and very fortunate to have the career that I have. I have the dream career that I never would have ever dreamed and imagined for myself. I know that I've accomplished so many things in life that I've set my sights on, and coming to the company that I am now, going through the rankings from the bottom to where I'm at now, which is certainly not the top with the company, but for a high school graduate that barely made it out of high school, it's a lot for me. And I did that not all with the best intentions. A lot of times I was just trying to prove to myself, hey, I can do this, I can accomplish this. And I got this most recent job title with the company that I'm with, and was overly happy about it for the first few days. And I'm still so blessed and so happy to have that. But I still felt that void. I still felt, man, there's just something's not here. Something is not here. What can I fill this void with now? And that hit hard. That hit very hard for me.
I don't know, God works in ways, but I'm looking back and I don't even know what got me and you together, Gator. Do you know? I mean, really, truthfully, I look at it. It was a God thing.
Man, I've said it probably 30 times in my head. Man, it's God and Gators. God and Gators.
Because you was going through a lot, and somehow, I don't know how, I just text you, or no, I mean Facebook. I know what it was. I made a comment or something, and I can't even go back to think about it because it's how God works. And it's like, yeah, man, if you got somebody, me having the barbershop, I'm like, I got people I know's got tags,
Yeah.
And the last time me and you had talked, and we hadn't really seen each other or talked in years, was me and you and BT talked out in front of the restaurant that night for a while, and then you was like, if you got some people got tags, get with me and let me know. I'd love to come over there and do whatever, and I won't be going either way. And then it just, I don't know, it spiraled into, I know you told me that, you watched stuff that I'd put out on Facebook and, sharing the Lord and putting stuff out there. And you called me and you had we probably sat on the phone, because even my wife was like, who have you been talking to? We probably sat on the phone an hour and a half.
No, it's it's been the past few years for me has been a back and forth struggle that I'm very, very open with, and I haven't always been very open. I've always been a very private person when it comes to things like that, because I felt very vulnerable. And seeing you and how you're living life now and everything, it moved something in me. I as I've spoke with you and others these past few really years, I've always looked up so much to the men in my life that had families, that were married, had happy marriages, had happy kids, and just were fathers. And I was always very jealous and envious of that, because it hadn't happened to me. I'd ingrained it in myself that that's not in my cards. That's not what God's got for me. He ain't letting me have it. And that's the way I lived my life, was it's not going to happen. So I'm just going to live like I want to live. And in a way, I resented God for that. All these other people have this. Why don't I have this? I keep asking you to put this in my life, but you're not doing it. You're not listening to me, God. And then with these last few years, if you'd even asked me a month ago, man, Evan, you're a good person. Oh, Jamie, I'm the best. Look at what I've accomplished with work. Look at what I've done with bow fishing and helping people. Right. And man, I go help my mom and dad all the time when they needed. This buddy needed me. I was there and I gave him a ride. I loaned him some money. I'm a good person. And, thinking back to how I was when I was younger, when BT reached out to me about bow fishing, if you would ask me, that was at the pits of hell. That was what I thought was the lowest point in my life.
Right.
And truthfully, looking at it now, if you would have asked me a few months ago, I'd tell you real quick that I'd never in my life been as far from God as I was a few months ago. And it hit me, and I've talked with you about that. I wasn't looking for God when He showed up. A lot of people seeking God. I wasn't looking for God. I was still trying to fill this void, and I was trying to do it any way possible, hunting, fishing, anything I could possibly do to fill this void. And one night in the midnight hour, God pretty much slapped me in the side of my head. And like I've told you, I've always been very envious when people would tell me, God spoke to me. I'm like, well, I don't know what you're doing different, but He ain't never talked to me. I ain't never heard that voice. I got voices in my head, and they ain't God, And that night when that happened, it was just like he took a chapter book and put it inside my soul, and I could read it word for word. That I knew that I was the furthest away from God that I had ever been in my life, and I for once I was shameful of that. And also, through what I gathered from that was, Evan, I'm not putting anybody in your life to fix you. You're a 38-year-old man. You talk about all this stuff you've accomplished. I'm the only one that can fix you. And until you put me at the center of your life, in the center of everything you do, I ain't doing nothing and letting nobody in your life.
And he is the only one that can fix anybody, really to the extent that you need, that you got to have him. And, just thinking of your story, I think it's like a horse. I mean, God has to break you.
Oh, yeah.
To get you down, to knock you down to your knees, to where you really know it's him that you strive. And then the thing about that is until you've experienced it, and you have, and people don't understand, the breaking part is a good thing. It's a good part.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's you down. You're in the lowest of lows.
That's right.
But him bringing you back out of that, and you giving your life to him, and the salvation that you get, and inviting, we was going to get to this, but you went and got baptized the other day. But baptism, and I want to tell because it was awesome. It did so much for just me. But baptism is a thing showing that you have given your life to God.
It's true.
Getting saved is what matters.
That's right.
You gave your life to God when you hit that low, when you was crying out to him, and you said, I need you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got to have you. I know I can't go on without you anymore. That is when salvation took in, and that is when he tells us in the Bible he fills us with the Holy Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
And that Holy Spirit is the best feeling. You could shoot all the fishing you want to shoot. You could catch all the gators you want to catch. Yeah. But I guarantee you might tell me wrong, but you've never experienced the feeling you have when the Holy Spirit hits you.
No, and it's one of those feelings where I want everybody to know, man. It doesn't matter your past, your background, where you've been, where you're going. None of that matters. And I feel unworthy of it. And like I said, I wasn't even looking. I wasn't even looking, but
he was looking for you.
He was looking for me, and when I turned back, I'd realized that how far I'd let myself get from God. But when I turned around, he was right in my face. And no matter how far I tried to get, and I heard a gentleman say one time in one of the sermons I was listening to, he said, if you want to get away from God, the devil will always show up and give you a ride. And man, I rode with the devil a lot. And I'm ashamed of that. But, we have a God that we love, that loves us unconditionally. We have a God
no matter what
that loves us, that can only fill voids that need to be filled inside of us.
That's
we
right.
can try to reach for everything we want to, and man,
you won't never have it.
Jamie, I've hurt so many people. I've had so many opportunities that I'd ball up and throw away because it wasn't for Evan. It wasn't for greater good of Evan. And like I told you the other day, it was, look what I've accomplished. Look what I. Everything I would say was I, and it was never glory to God. I never put him at the center of that. And even looking back to my social media stuff, I'm like, man, the platform I had with the followers that I had and everybody looking at me, and not once did I give God glory for any of that. Man, shame on me. And God's coming to my life in a way now that where I can say shame on me. I recognize it. And it's like that conviction we talked about. Yeah. Back when I was doing wrong, I knew I was doing wrong and I didn't care. And now, man, it
hits you hard on you.
It does. I mean? It's hard on you. And talking with that conviction, I've got a few very special people in my life, and I've got one in particular that I've been so fortunate to be back in contact with here lately, and only just a true act of God that this one individual would still even speak to me, and I'm so lucky and so blessed from that, because I've hurt them in so many different ways that I can't even describe. I've not only hurt them, I've hurt their loved ones around them, and it was very bittersweet thinking about that with the mindset and the heart now that God has put into me, looking back on exactly how much I hurt them and what my actions did to affect them, and how that they could even reply back to me, even if I was saying, hey, this person's about to kill me, I need you, but just you texting me, hey, I'm still thinking about you, and man, if that don't make you believe there's a God and somebody else's power out there, nothing will. But, moving on from that, after that night when everything happened and me and God had our powwow, I looked at things a lot differently, and I knew it was, and in a way I still feel unworthy for this. I've been in and out of churches my whole life, my whole family. I mean, if anybody had dirt on Jesus, it's my mama. Like, my mama is the textbook line of what a Christian, a servant of God is, and it's what I strive to be like. And I had the best upbringing. Something about me, I had the best upbringing. Everything that I did, I inflicted on myself, Right. And I've been back and forth with God several times over my life. I was baptized, I think, when I was 12, 13, did it because everybody else was doing it type of thing. Right. Didn't really mean anything to me at the time. I just didn't want to be the one standing there not doing it.
And, you got just dunked in the water.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And so, when this all happened just 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was a feeling inside of me that and it's the best feeling in the world, but it was a feeling that this is it. This is it, Evan. Like, that door is closed on who you used to be. You're not him anymore. And I had carried so many things around with me for so long. And a lot as men, we're guilty of that. We bury it deep down inside of us, and we just hold on to it. And I held on to that stuff, and I realized over the years that stuff was rotting me from the inside out. It was brewing hatred. It was brewing anger. And then even one of my friends crossed me the wrong way, a little bit of that inside hate and anger would come out. Mm-hmm. And, when all that happened 4 or 5 weeks ago, God took every bit of that, and he told me, he said, it's me now, and you're going to put me at the center of everything. I'm going to take these burdens from you. You don't live there anymore. That door's closed. And I'm going to take these burdens, and I'm going to pin them on the cross, because it's already been paid for. So ease up off of them. I need you, Evan, just like I need God. And in a way, that's worrisome. What does he have for me? But in a way, I'm super excited on what can you use old alligator hunter wrangler like me for? But
use him for a lot.
And so I gave all glory to God, and I surrendered all to God that night on my knees, 1 o'clock in the morning in my driveway, not looking for God, and I surrendered it all to him. And the next few days following that, you can't. I know there'll always be deniers. I know there'll always be this, but you can't deny the facts of the timelines of how things have transpired in my life these past few weeks. You cannot, and I will always hold on to that with, you come back into my life at a time to where, man, it was about as unshaky as it got. And out of the blue, man, Jamie, I hadn't talked to you since hunting a beaver pond and Worthing back shooting ducks, and I hadn't seen or talked to you since then. But some reason some of your stuff come across my feed, and I was like, man, that's good for Jamie, man. He's doing all right. He's doing this, that, and other. And then out of nowhere, you just reached out to me. And man, when you reached out to me, that was about me trying to figure out, man, what's going on with me? Why am I crying every time I talk to somebody? I've cried more in the past 2-3 weeks than I have in the last 20 years of my life. And just, hearing your testimony and your statement and everything like that, it was truly inspiring to me. And it led to other events, with us being able to gator hunt and wild gator hunting, talking about God and talking about what he's done for us, and everyone on the boat talking about their experiences. It just, it don't get no better than that. And what that's done for me is just out of this world, what God and all the people surrounding me have showed me. I'll forever be in debt and grateful for that. And then, this last week, I for some reason, I kept asking God. I still had a lot of hurt, man. I still had a lot of hurt. And I'm like, God, everything else is going so great, but why is this hurt happening, And I've got gator hunts this weekend. My buddy from Florida's coming up this weekend. I got to shake this, come on, get me right. And I know that God is, every time we hurt, what I felt like I needed to do was turn to God more. That's right. And I turned to God more, and I turned to his scripture more, and I'm reading, why is this hurt? What's going on with it? And I'm 3-4 weeks in with God now, sober, no alcohol, just giving a God all the glory and just everything. But man, this hurt's getting strong. And my buddy come up here from Florida and was with me. We gator hunted that night all together, and I was trying to hold it as much as I could. And we got halfway home, and I just couldn't hold it. I said, "Man, Shane," I said, I think I'm gonna break down, man. And he said, "Hey, you do what you gotta do. I'm right here." And Jamie, when I'm talking about breaking down, I'm talking about ugly crying now, like ugly crying. Like you don't want to be film crying like this. And right. I hit my knees again in my driveway, just begging God, please take this hurt, take this. I don't know what this is. What are you doing? Is this the devil wedging his way in? I've got so many questions. And then I made it through that night, and leaning on my buddy Shane and everything, and I said, well, I'm gonna try to get to bed. Tomorrow's a new day. Hopefully, I can sleep, get a little bit of rest. And I woke up that next morning, which was Saturday morning, and man, I still had that hurt. And I'm like, what is? I'm trying to read between the lines. God, just tell me like you did a few weeks ago, but He wouldn't do it. And so Shane said, well, look, let's go hit the river. Let's get on the boat. I know that'll make you happy. Get your mind off things that make you happy. Let's do that. So boat was already hooked up from the night before when we were all gator hunting. We left out. I got a mile or two down the road, and like I said, man, it's God didn't verbally speak to me, but He just put something in my heart, and He said, hey, old son. Said, what? He said, we got one last thing left to do. What? He said, get some people to meet you at the river. We got one last thing we need to do. And man, it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I've been guilty in the past of feeling God try to work in my life and denying it and moving away from that. And as of 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was a lot of things that I vowed. And I vowed to God and I vowed to other people. And one thing I vowed I'll never do is I'll never deny God again. I'll never not listen to Him when He tells me to move ever.
We've all done it in our past, and and it's still there's going to be times and all in the future, like I told you, that He's going to try to tell you to do stuff, and it's still tempting. I mean, the more you grow and the more you do, the more you want to share His gospel. Yeah. And not to stop your story on the the baptism, because the baptism was a special time to me. I knew what you called us there for and what you went and done, and that was it was awesome. And one of the most awesome experiences I've been through. Just to be a part of that, to know that what I've done has helped in a tiny bit of a way, and not to even for me to say that. It was just, you could tell how much it means to me because I was in tears. And it's like me right now, I'm sitting here talking. I thought we would be in more tears than we are, but I think the Lord's just blessing us to be sharing this. But
definitely,
when you said get in this boat, and I knew where we were going, I was riding down the river and I pointed at that bald eagle. And
that was wild.
Yeah.
That was wild.
You know what I mean? I was like, look at that joker. The prettiest bald eagle. Yeah. We eased down through there. And I know you're going to get baptized. I kind of had in my mind where you was probably headed. Yeah. And I couldn't help but I had them glasses on. Tears was just in my, I was filled with joy. With joy is the thing is people don't realize,
The funniest thing with, and just how down Shane is for anything in my life. Right. A guy that I met years ago at a bow fishing tournament, and like we had mentioned before, and we won't go into details. If anybody wants to ask me, reach out. But first time Shane Springer met me at a bow fishing tournament in Shreveport, Louisiana, I was getting arrested. Right. I mean, and he's been there ever since that day. Right. It's the wildest friendship you could ever imagine. But there's Shane's one of those guys in my life that when I met him for the first time, I felt like I'd known him since third grade. Right. And we're a lot alike in a lot of ways. We struggle with a lot of the same things in a lot of ways. But, like I said, going down that road away from the house, God tugged on it and said, today's the day. We got this left to do. And I, first things I could think of was, Shane's gonna have to Google how to baptize somebody because it's me and Shane, And then I didn't even say anything to Shane. I texted Mark Stewart, preacher there. I've known him for a long time. Preaches in hometown. Lives in Oconee, on the Oconee River near it. And I just texted him and said, "Hey, you at home? You around Oconee? You busy today?" "Yeah, I'm here all day." I said, "You mind meet me at the river?" "No, not a bit, man." And I said, you mind meet me at the certain boat ramp that I told you? You mind meet me here?" "No." Didn't ask, "You all right? Is the boat sinking?" "Well, nothing, just all right." And then immediately texting you, and I don't know, 10:30, 11:30, like, hey, you meet me at this boat ramp? Yeah. And then I knew you knew something was up because you called me. And then when you called me, like, hey, just need to talk or whatever? I said, yeah, I need you. He said, all right, I'll be there. And man, I didn't know you didn't close till 2, and you had haircuts, man. I felt so bad about that, but
them haircuts could wait. And actually, the woman said one guy come in because somebody called Dana and was like, "They're gonna be there to 2," and she was like, "Yeah." Then he come in, I was gone. She said he had a phone call, but that phone call was way more important than that guy's head. I'll tell you that much.
And then after that phone call, talking with you, I was trying to fight back everything I could, my tears, and just, God had a hold of me, and for once again, when God was pulling on me, I was moving. And when I hung up the phone with you, I looked at Shane, and in a way I knew he already knew, and I said, man, I think I'm gonna get baptized today. And he said, let's roll, and we got there, and like I got out, man, I couldn't fight back the tears seeing Mark in his face, and how much that man has prayed for me, just like my mom, just upon prayer, and with him being sitting there at the boat ramp with swimming trunks and a towel on it, man, God knew what was up with him, and I got out, and the only words I could get out was this time, and he said, the water's right there, let's go. And I said, well, we got somebody else coming too, and then when you got there, and that's what I told you, I said, let's go for a little boat ride. It's time. God's told me that this is it for me. This is it. And I've seen what he's done for me in the last 4 or 5 weeks of my life. And I owed this to not only myself, but to him too as well. And no part whatsoever was that planned. It couldn't have been planned. But the way that went out, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I even struggled with things after that. I was so glad to have you be there and be a part of it, and Shane and Mark as well. And I was glad for that Oconee River to be a part of it. Like I told you, that river has seen me at my worst. Right. I want it to see me at my best. It's just like everyone around me has seen me at my absolute worst. Right. And now it's time for people to see me at my best and what God can do when you put him at the center of it all. Right. And with us being down there, and then Mark going through the spill that he went through, just even more just blew my mind. That how could have this transpired, with bearing witness and everything like that. And it was a very private moment for me that I'm glad, because I've had so many people reach out, man, I didn't know you was doing this. I'd have been there. And I said, hey, look, we didn't know we was doing this. We didn't. But like I said, I'll never deny God again when he moves in my life. And, and luckily enough, you and Shane took some photos and took some film of it and everything like that, mainly because the main thing with me is I want to show my mama. Right. I want to show my mama that everything that she's done and that she has dealt with, that I have put her through over the past 38 years of my life, has paid off, and she would have dealt with it for the next 38 years of my life, because that's a mother's love. Right. And the mother's love to me is only second to God and Jesus' love. And so, we did all that, and then, I got that so I could show my mom and special loved ones in my life. And, Shane was even mentioning, man, you gonna post over there? And I was like, no, man, I'm not the social media guy anymore. I ain't doing that. And then right after that, I felt that conviction. I said, who? One of the guys that was there, Mr. Jamie Wolf, gets in front of his phone daily and gives glory to God, no matter how good of a day or bad of a day he's having. And everything he does, he incorporates God into it. And Jamie, that's touched me in ways of my life that I want to strive to be a better Christian like you are. And every day I'm going to do that. And who am I to deny this to the world? Who am I to deny what God has done for me in my life over these past 4 or 5 weeks that I do not feel that I deserve? Who am I to deny this from? Even if all the people that witnessed and saw it, even if it's just one person asked that question, Evan, I've been struggling with this. If I can do for just one soul what you have done for countless these past few weeks, then it's all worth it. Every bit of it's worth it to me. And the talks that we've had in times of need, the talks that I know that others that you've had with, I think sometimes you sell yourself short on exactly how much of an impact you're having on everyone's lives, and especially people like me, people that were based in this very prideful, we're men of men, we're this, that, and the other. You know, it's like I always tell you, you're the epitome of I'm saved, not soft. Jamie Wolf ain't a soft guy. You know, I know you, and you're soft when Jesus gets in your heart, just like I am. And it's a beautiful thing that we can't deny, and I'll never deny that. And I know going forward, I struggle with certain things, and I'm going to struggle, but now I got God on me. You know, I got God at the center of it, and I can't tell you how easier each day it is knowing that when something comes up, I put it in God's hands. I'm not making those decisions anymore. I'm gonna do what God can stay at the center of it. And if God ain't at the center of it, I don't want to do it. And if it's not leading me closer to Christ, just like general people, if you're not leading me closer to Christ, then I don't really care to have this conversation. If you need Christ and you need me, call me, holler at me. I'll do everything I can to get you the feeling that I'm getting right now, because I want everybody to have this feeling. But just, you know, being a good shepherd for the Lord and spreading that, and the way that I've seen people turn to you, older, younger people and stuff like that, it means the world to me. And with you being there Saturday, you and Mark and Shane, it meant the world to me. And the talks that we had on that boat, that was just us three and God. And you know, that'll forever be burned into my soul that day. And that's the day I'll always refer back to when I talk with other people. That I wanted to put an advisory out to anybody fishing downstream that day from there to dunk them fish twice and eat them, because all the sins and stuff that Jesus washed downstream for me.
It's gone, ain't it, brother?
We probably should have went further downstream to not put people in hazard. People in Lawrence County, I am sorry of the filth and sin that was in that river Saturday afternoon. But no, that was in a way one of the best feelings. And with Mark being there and going in that water and coming out, I did. I went down a sinner, and I come back up a sinner that still falls short of God's glory every day. But I'm convicted, and I know wrong is wrong, and I know right's right. And it even set in with me the talks that we had after that. I know I'm on this high right now with God, and I don't ever want it to end. But for the longest time, the devil knew he had me. He didn't have to work hard, and you know, one of my resentment things that I had before all this, even with God, was why so long? Why did it take why did I go to these lows? Why did it take so long? Well, God uses different people in different ways, and I think as seasoned as he let me become, that I truly believe that he's got something for me that I have to do for him, and I'm excited. I'm scared in a way for that. Of, man, if you need somebody as seasoned as me, what do you got planned that I need to do? But
he's got a lot of plans for you. I mean, it's a lot coming, and I thank you so much for just inviting me to be down there, because like you said, my wife could even tell you the joy that you put in my heart, just what I had for the rest of the day. I didn't even care if the Bulldogs got beat by Tennessee, but God pulled them out of that. But anyway, I did. I mean, I was so happy, and just to be with you. And when you say that and the words you said towards me, I really appreciate it. But Evan, I'm still just so humble too. And I try to do what God asked me to do, and sometimes it is, like I said, I'm not going to say it's hard, but sometimes you do have a busy schedule, you do have stuff, but if you put something on my heart, most of the stuff that I do put on Facebook and different things, it isn't something I wrote down. It isn't something I think about. Every now and then I'll have something hit me from God that I'm like, I need to put that out at this time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That makes that. But it's usually stuff like the other morning when I was out here by my truck, you know, and was talking about that night. It's just stuff that morning that he put on my heart. It's like, you need to share this.
Right.
And it is crazy, because I am getting texts and I am getting phone calls, and it's something I've been doing for a while now. And it's humbling. It's not that, like you said, it's not about me, because Evan, I was a sinner. I was just as bad as you ever thought about being, man. Oh, yeah. I went down the wrong roads. I did all the wrong stuff too. And, you know, I got blessed with just an absolute wife that I couldn't ask for no better. I've got children. I look back and think, how did I deserve this? How did I deserve it?
Yeah.
You know, when I got a text, and me and you fixing to have to wrap this up, because we got somewhere we got to go. Because there's something we got to go do with somebody. So, you know.
That's right.
And so, anyway, I look back and like, I don't know how I got here. And I told you this earlier, and I want to tell it again. It's like yesterday when I got this text from somebody else. It's a very close person to me, you know, and, you know, I've known since they were younger that it's, you know, just asking questions, wanting to talk, and they had reached out to you because of what they seen.
Right.
The only thing I could do is ask. I sent my wife a text and like, I can't believe this. And she's like, well, you ought to be really proud and happy. And I'm like, I'm bawling. You know, and I'm like, I'm asking God, I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. What are we doing here? You know, I am not the preacher down at so-and-so church. I'm just, you know, and so I'm very humbled, and I want to work for God. Yeah. And what all we're seeing going on, and we're not going into this, but the last few days in Christianity and what's getting the devil's working this world like he is, God has planned, and he has soldiers, and you're one of his soldiers, and he had to finally get you. And he knew he needed you.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And he's going to do great works with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And that's what it's about. And the thing about it is moving forward, and we talked about this on the boat, is pick up the Bible, stay in it, and spread his word. And I got a book. I know my wife said she was going to read it, but I got a book over here I'm going to give you. And I read it. And when I read that book a little over, I'd say it's been over a year ago, that book did the world for me. And I've always, and we'll wrap this up, I've always been a fan of Phil Robertson and the Robertsons.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, he is one of the ones that's up there that God, he brought, like his sister said, here's a story, if you get that man saved, he'll bring thousands among thousands to the Lord.
Right.
And I look at the roughnecks that I call them, like you, like me, where I think that's, people can see the real person in you. You know what I mean? They see who you really are and what God has done for you. And that book, it's written, and I'll tell anybody out there, if you've given your life to Christ and you really want to move forward in a way, it's called The Gospeller. And it's by Willie Robertson, and it's about sharing Christ. That's what God wants you to do. Once you become his son, born again with him in Christ, he wants you to pick up his word and do his work for him, sharing the gospel.
Right.
And that's what I feel like, that's what I try to do when it comes to Facebook, and do stuff and help people. And that's it. And it's when that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just, it's crazy you can't deny how our paths cross back paths with you, with this platform that you have and everything that I'm forever grateful for. It's God works in mysterious ways, and something I even struggle with now is just all in God's time, because I'm an impatient guy. You're a turkey hunter, I'm an impatient guy, but I realize it's all in God's time. And what I want to tell everyone is it doesn't matter anything. All that matters is your relationship with God. Don't deny him. Put him at the center of everything. And I know, man, and it's bad. We live in a real world. We live in a real world now. And there's many people that have reached out to me that are happy and blessed me. And Evan, I'm so proud of you for this. I'm so proud of that. There's just that many, if not more, naysayers on, what's he trying now? Where's his heart at now? Yeah. The devil sends those people too. And if there's one thing I can do is to show everyone tried and true for the rest of my days that I'm here on this earth, that God allows, that I'm working for him now, and that he's at the center of everything I do. And again, I can't extend enough heartfelt thank you to you and everything that you've done for me to help me on this journey. And it feels good having you with me on this journey day by day for someone else I can turn to and everything.
All right. Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna end on this because I'd pick this out, and I'm gonna put it out there. But it says, therefore, it's 2 Corinthians 5 verse 6. Therefore, being always of good courage, and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. And that is one thing, and it tells you to. For we walk by faith and not by sight. And that's the thing. We're here on this earth in our body. And, all this world, when our eyes are open, all we're seeing is worldly things. And sometimes it's best just to shut our eyes and turn to him and let him lead us the way we want to. And me and Glenn was having a conversation, and Glenn, there's a reason this podcast is here, and it's because of God. The way we meet. And Glenn, everybody don't see him behind the camera.
Jealous of that. Jealous of that,
behind the camera, but there's a reason we're here. It's
right.
because of God.
That's right.
And how we came about was like me and you coming about. And I wanted to throw my phone in the lake. I wanted to get rid of social media. I don't like this stuff that's even going on now. And, I'm mourning for, even Charlie Kirk. Don't want to go down this today, but
that's
everything, it is. And everything, I'm in mourning, but I know it's time for Christians to stand up and everything. And we just got to keep spreading the word, and that's what we're here, and that's what we're going to do. I love talking hunting. I love talking fishing. But I'm going to put God in it, and that's what we're going to stand on. We're going to hunt, fish, we're going to kill some gators, and we're going to spread the gospel is what we're going to do.
Amen.
And I see me and you doing it together. So,
and, man, I'm telling you, God and gators, man, it don't get no better. And, the thing that I would like to end on before I hand this back over to you is anybody out there that views any of these podcast, any of these social medias. I don't have Snapchat anymore. I deleted Snapchat. Not a fan of it. To me, it's not bringing me closer to the Lord. It's gone. I still have my Facebook. You, of course, Jamie Wolf, you have your Facebook and stuff. But if anybody's seeing any of this and feeling any type of way, if you feel the Lord tugging on you, or if you just got questions that you can't find the answers for, or anything like that, reach out to me, DM me, send me a Facebook message. Reach out to Jamie, DM him, send him a Facebook message, anything, because I can't extend enough thanks to you for you sharpening me as a Christian man and believing in me. And like I told everybody, the people that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and with God coming back into my life and you being that shepherd and putting me there, I honestly believe that God put you in my life at what time he did. Right. And I'll forever be grateful for that. And I'm going to get better and better about the social media aspect, because now that I know I can put God at the center of it. And I also I don't want to take that from other people, because if I do that, you could have done that and I wouldn't have reached out to you. And so that's it for me. Like I said, if anybody feels any type of way, reach out. Reach out to Jamie, reach out to me, reach out to Glenn, reach out to anybody that's got God at the center of their life, and they'll lead you there closer to him.
Well, that's well said, and I'm going to end this one. This is one of the first ones I'm ending on a prayer, but I'm going to end this one on a prayer.
Let's do it.
So, dear Heavenly Father, I come to you, and I just thank you for all that we've seen you do in the last few weeks with your glory, dear Lord, and we just give all the praise to you, and just thank you for bringing us together with friendship, and just know that we will all go forward working together just to spread your name and your gospel, dear Lord, and be soldiers for you, dear Lord, and stand up for you, dear Lord, and just... We do ask that anybody that that's out there that does have hurt or need or anything, just send them our way, dear Lord, and let us help guide them to you, dear Lord. And we just ask that you give us the words and the wisdom to say to these people, dear Lord. Don't let it come from us. We want it to come straight from you, dear Lord. And we just thank you for all that you've done and all of your blessings, and we just praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Shocking silver queen on my grandma's porch. Peach ice cream churning on the floor. Telling largemouth lies when you're fishing. Girl next door had you wishing on a shooting star in a July sky. 4th and 1 on a Friday night, when the muddy water made my soul a little cleaner. Life was good and the tea was a little sweeter.